This episode of Android Authority is brought to you by Netflix. Head to netflix.com/android for a free 30-day trial. Ask and ye shall receive an answer. Hey, it's Joshua Vergara from Android Authority. What's going on, everybody? And it's Android Authority Q&A for August 14th, 2013. Our first question of the day comes from Fred. I'm waiting for the second generation Nexus 10. Any news about it? When will it be released? Will it have keyline Pi? Well, Fred, we don't currently have a whole lot of information regarding the new Nexus 10 just yet, but we can expect a lot of news to come out in the coming weeks. This is because mid-November of last year was when the original Nexus 10 was out, and obviously we're coming up to that general time frame. What we can tell you about, though, is a couple details that have surfaced in the last couple of weeks, mainly that the new Nexus 10 might not be produced by Samsung. What was once thought to be a statement by Sundar Pichai actually wasn't. While we haven't really heard anyone specifically say that ASUS will be the next developer, a couple of details point to this being the case. Mainly, that the company originally commissioned to make the video for the Nexus surround sound feature listed the video as being for the Nexus 7 and the Nexus 10. With these two companies continuing what looks like a pretty great relationship, one can certainly hope. As far as keyline Pi goes, the general idea for Android 5.0 is that it will be out by the end of this year. So if the Nexus 10 is here by the holidays, it could very likely have the newest version of Android built in. I'm interested in buying a new phone on contract, but I'm not sure which one. Should I buy one of the current flagship phones or wait it out until later this year to see what else is beyond the horizon? Now I think this is a great question because this is arguably the best time for smartphone tech. There are a lot of different devices to choose from, and it's only going to get better throughout the rest of this year. Honestly, it really does come down to how patient you are. The current flagship phones are wonderful choices like the Samsung Galaxy S4 and the HTC One, but don't forget about the other players in the game like the Sony Xperia Z. You can wait a little while for the Moto X if its customization options and generally simpler outlook please you. If you're looking for a bigger phone, well, I just reviewed the huge Sony Xperia Z Ultra, and unless you are willing to wait for the Samsung Galaxy Note 3, it is pretty hard to beat. If you are willing to wait though, you actually don't have to wait that long. The Moto X is weeks from release, and the great-looking LG G2 will be out within the next month or so, and by the holidays, we will have the Galaxy Note 3. Like I said, it really just comes down to how patient you are. Speaking of the Galaxy Note 3, Daniel wants to know if you should wait for it or just go for the Galaxy S4. With the Galaxy Note 3 still impending, it is likely to have even better specs than the older S4. Those are of course the Snapdragon 800, the 1080p resolution in that huge screen, and of course there is the S Pen. Many users flock to the S Pen on top of that larger screen, and that is what made the Note 2 quite the runaway hit. The Galaxy S4 introduced many new sensors and navigation features, and all of these are sure to be included with the Note 3 on top of the ways to use the S Pen. It's hard not to get excited for the Note 3 because it could be one of the most full-featured phones available. Ultimately, it comes down to those key elements: the larger screen, more power, or the S Pen. With IFA in Berlin just about a month away, it's only a matter of time before we get all of the information on the Galaxy Note 3 confirmed. And then of course, after its announcement, it's not going to be that long until we actually get that phone in our hands. Here's an interesting one to try and pronounce. Amblyopia 57 asks, will the LG G2 be coming to Sprint? Yes, it definitely will be, just like the OG made its way to Sprint last year. Sprint is really pushing the G2 as the main gateway for its unlimited plans and services. It's a two-way street too, because LG is catering the G2 on Sprint to be able to connect across all possible LTE frequencies that the service uses. The G2 is looking to be a major release, and by the end of this year, Sprint will be one of the many places that you can get it. Our last question comes from Proud to be Pinoy. I love the Nexus 7 and the Xperia Z, so instead of having the Nexus 7 and the Z in my pocket, can I just have the Xperia Z Ultra? Does the Xperia Z Ultra fit for me? And is the Z Ultra better than the Nexus 7? First of all, mabuhay! And good timing on asking me this question just days after I reviewed the Sony Xperia Z Ultra. Now, it's no secret that I'm a big fan of the Nexus 7, and the Xperia Z Ultra just comes this short of stepping on its territory. But my suggestion here would be to really evaluate if a device of that size is really something you want to have on you all the time. The Xperia Z at 5 inches, for example, is just below the threshold of breaking portability, and it works just as it should, as a phone. On the other hand, the Nexus 7 tablet is something you can bring out, but it might primarily be used in an office or a home. The Xperia Z Ultra just might not work when you're really out and about. For example, I tried using the Ultra while driving, and let's just say it was far from easy or, more importantly, safe. I think it's a very fine device, don't get me wrong, but it works best in a more controlled environment. As a tablet, it's almost as good as the Nexus 7. After all, I just love stock Android a little bit more. But as a phone, it's simply much more difficult to fathom. As always, a written companion for this video can be found in the description below, right next to a way for you to turn in your own questions that might get answered on Android Authority Q&A. Next week is actually going to be my vacation, and it's been really fun these last couple of weeks answering your questions, but next week, Chris is going to be back on that Q&A grind. Don't forget to check out our other features like Android Authority Weekly, hosted by me, and the Sunday giveaway, usually hosted by Chris. Why don't you drop us a like down below? Don't forget to subscribe to the Android Authority channel because we've got a lot of great stuff in store for you. And when you're done with all that, head on over to androidauthority.com because we're your source for all things Android.